The sun was unforgiving in the barren wasteland where Myra stood, her tall, slender figure casting a long shadow over the cracked earth. Her blue skin shimmered faintly under the harsh light, and her glowing eyes scanned the horizon, alert and ready. In her hands, she held a sleek energy pistol, a weapon from her world that carried power and precision. Across from her, John, a human survivor with rough clothes and tired eyes, gripped a small, old-fashioned handgun. It looked fragile and almost comical compared to Myra's weapon. Myra's lips curled into a mocking smile as she eyed John's tiny gun. "Is that all you have?" she said with a laugh that echoed across the empty land. She moved closer, her confidence clear. To her, John seemed weak, just another lost human in a galaxy full of stronger species. John's calm face did not change. He did not rush or panic. Instead, he slowly reached beneath his worn coat. Myra's eyes widened as John pulled out a massive weapon, a plasma cannon, bigger and heavier than anything she had seen. The harsh sun reflected off the metal, and the barrel seemed ready to roar with destruction. The sudden reveal stopped Myra cold. The smugness in her voice died away, replaced by a flicker of surprise. John's small handgun was just a distraction, a clever trick hiding his true strength. The desert wind held its breath. For a moment, the two stared at each other, predator and prey, warrior and survivor, alien and human. The silence was thick with tension. Then, a deep rumble shook the ground. A loud explosion erupted from the ruins behind them, sending clouds of dust into the air. The peaceful moment shattered. Both Myra and John dove for cover as rocks and debris rained down around them. Myra's heart pounded as she peeked from behind a broken wall. From the dust emerged a group of scavengers, hostile creatures, rough and armed with crude weapons, moving fast. They had been waiting for easy prey, and now they had too. John and Myra exchanged a quick glance. The fight was no longer between them. It was about survival. John loaded his big weapon, and Myra steadied her pistol. Side by side, they faced the oncoming threat. The scavengers charged, shouting and brandishing their weapons. John's plasma cannon blazed, firing wide beams that forced the attackers back. Myra moved with sharp precision, shooting energy bolts that knocked enemies off their feet. Despite their differences, their skills worked together. The battle was fierce, the air filled with noise and smoke. When the last scavenger fled, John and Myra stood among the ruins, breathing hard. Myra lowered her pistol and looked at John with new respect. She could see now the humans were not as weak as she thought. They had hidden strength and cleverness. John gave a tired smile and said, "Sometimes what you see is not all there is." The sun began to set, painting the sky with red and orange. Around a small fire, they shared stories. Myra spoke of her strict warrior culture, where honor and strength ruled everything. John talked about humanity's will to survive against all odds. Though their worlds were different, they found common ground in pain and hope. Yet, deep down, both wondered if they could truly trust the other. What had started with mockery was turning into an uneasy alliance. Just as they began to relax, a sharp crackle broke the quiet. John's hidden communicator buzzed to life, sending out a distress signal. The message was urgent: a human convoy trapped nearby, caught in a deadly trap. Myra's eyes narrowed. The real danger was not over yet. They had no choice but to move forward, together, into the unknown. The wasteland was full of secrets, and both knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test everything they believed about themselves and each other. The sky was dark and full of stars as Myra and John prepared to leave the safety of their small camp. The distress signal from the trapped convoy echoed in John's mind like a warning drum. They both knew the risks ahead, but the choice was clear: They had to help, no matter the danger. Mira adjusted her gear, her glowing eyes scanning the horizon. With sharp focus, her warrior instincts warned her this mission would not be simple. John checked his weapons again, making sure his hidden plasma cannon was ready. The small handgun, which had seemed weak before, was now a symbol of human adaptability, deceptive and clever. As they moved out, the cold night air bit at their skin, a sharp contrast to the blazing wasteland sun they had faced earlier. The silence between them was tense but necessary. Neither fully trusted the other yet, but survival depended on cooperation. Myra thought about the mockery she had once felt toward John's small gun. Now she saw the meaning behind it. Humans were not just strong because of their weapons, but because of their mind, their ability to hide strength where others would not expect. John, meanwhile, was learning about Myra's culture, where strength was not just physical, but tied to honor and loyalty. He wondered if she could see his own code beneath his rough exterior. The journey toward the convoy took them through dangerous terrain. The dead zone was a land scarred by past battles, filled with radiation and old war machines still dangerous despite their age. Myra's alien body struggled to resist the poison in the air. She had to rely on John's knowledge of the area and his simple survival skills. Together, they found ways to shield themselves from the worst. At one point, Mira fell ill from the radiation, and John carried her part of the way. In that moment, the distance between alien and human seemed to shrink. They were no longer enemies, but two beings bound by hardship. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, and more than once they had to fight off attacks. John's plasma cannon roared, its blue light cutting through the dark. Myra's energy pistol fired in quick bursts, precise and deadly. They moved as a team, their strengths complementing each other perfectly. The nights were colder than they expected, and in quiet moments, they shared pieces of their pasts, Myra's life in a strict warrior society, John's struggles to survive on a harsh human frontier. They laughed softly at small jokes and exchanged glances that spoke of growing trust. But beneath it all, a tension remained. Could they truly depend on one another when the real enemy was still out there? Finally, after days of traveling, they reached the edge of the trap. The convoy was surrounded by thick metal walls and guarded by well-armed mercenaries. John's communicator picked up faint cries for help. Mira felt her heart tighten. This was worse than she imagined. The leaders of the convoy did not greet them as friends. Instead, suspicion and fear filled the air. John tried to negotiate, but it soon became clear that someone inside the convoy was working against them. A traitor who had invited the mercenaries to capture the group. The betrayal hit Myra hard. Her warrior code demanded justice, and she found herself questioning if she could trust the humans at all. John felt torn between his duty to protect his people and his growing feelings for Myra. The convoy was on the brink of collapse, and the mercenaries tightened their grip. With every passing moment, the danger grew. Myra's calm and John's determination became the last hope for the trapped humans and their fragile alliance. As night fell, shadows moved closer around the convoy, and the true test of trust and survival was about to begin. Would John and Mira's hidden strengths be enough to save them all? The enemy was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and the real battle was just beginning. Asterisk. The convoy's compound lay under a dark, moonless sky, its high metal walls casting long shadows over the frightened faces inside. John and Myra slipped through a narrow gap in the outer fence, their senses sharp and alert. The silence was heavy too. Heavy. Every sound, every breath felt like a risk. Inside, the air was thick with tension and fear. People hurried quietly, eyes darting toward every corner, knowing danger lurked nearby. John's communicator crackled softly, the faint signal from the trapped convoy growing stronger. But something was wrong. Mira noticed it first, a coldness in the eyes of some convoy members, a hesitation when they spoke, as if secrets hung between them. They moved deeper inside, searching for the convoy leaders who had called for help. But when they found them, the truth hit like a knife. One leader, a man named Rallic, was not just frightened, he was planning betrayal. Myra's sharp eyes caught the way he glanced toward the mercenaries' watchtower, sharing a silent message. John confronted Rallic quietly, demanding answers. The man confessed. He had struck a deal with the mercenaries to secure power for himself, sacrificing the convoy's safety for his ambition. The betrayal shattered the fragile trust Mira had started to build with these humans. Her warrior code demanded swift justice. John struggled with the complexity. He wanted to protect his people, but Rallic's treachery threatened to tear everything apart. They had to act fast. Together, John and Mira devised a plan to expose the traitor and protect the innocent. But time was running out. The mercenaries had grown impatient and were preparing to storm the compound. John's plasma cannon was loaded and ready, Myra's energy pistol charged. The air was thick with anticipation and fear. The moment the mercenaries attacked, John and Mira fought side by side, their weapons blazing and hearts pounding. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Shots echoed through the night, and the compound trembled under the force of the assault. Yet in the chaos, Mira found herself protecting John from a deadly blow. Their eyes met in a brief, silent understanding. This fight was no longer just about survival. It was about trust. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, John's hidden weapon unleashed a powerful blast that turned the tide, pushing the attackers back. The convoy's people rallied, inspired by the unexpected strength of the human and alien fighting together. But the victory was costly. The betrayal had opened wounds deeper than any weapon could reach. Mira wondered if the fragile bond between them could survive the truth. John felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever before. As dawn broke, the mercenaries retreated, but Mira and John knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the shadows, a new enemy watched and waited, ready to strike when they least expected it. The alliance forged in battle was fragile, and the coming days would test their trust, their strength, and the very future of both their peoples. The first light of dawn crept over the battered convoy, casting long shadows on the dust-covered ground. Myra stood silently beside John, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon, watching for any sign of the shadowy figure they both feared. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The wounds from the betrayal still burned in. Their minds and trust between the convoy members was fragile at best. Myra's warrior code urged her to root out the traitor completely, but John understood that unity was now the only way to survive what was coming next. As they prepared for the inevitable counterattack, John's plasma cannon hummed quietly, his side silent but deadly. The weapon was more than just firepower. It symbolized the hidden strength and resilience of humanity. Mira's energy pistol, sleek and precise, was a perfect match to his brute force. Together, they represented a new kind of alliance, born not from ease, but from hardship and necessity. John and Myra moved through the convoy, helping to fortify defenses and rally the weary survivors. Slowly, a sense of hope began to return, but the weight of the past betrayal lingered like a shadow. In moments of quiet, Mira and John shared more. And just strategy, they shared stories, memories, fears. Mira spoke of her homeworld, a place where honor was everything, and betrayal meant exile or death. John spoke of Earth, a place where survival often depended on trust between strangers, and strangers could become family. As night fell again, the shadowy figure finally revealed itself. A tall alien warrior, cloaked in dark armor and carrying weapons that rivaled even Myra's, stepped into the light. His face was hidden, but his presence spoke of old grudges and ancient wars. He claimed to know Mira's past and warned that her people's old enemies were coming to finish what was started long ago. John and Mira realized that the mercenaries were just pawns in a much larger game. A game that threatened not just their lives, but the fragile peace they had begun to build. In a tense confrontation, the stranger challenged Mira's loyalty and forced John to defend their newfound alliance. The battle that followed was unlike any before, one of honor, trust, and the fight for a future beyond weapons and war. As they fought side by side, John and Mira's bond grew stronger, no longer just allies but something deeper. The hidden strength within John's plasma cannon and Mira's warrior spirit combined to overcome the stranger's attacks. But the victory came at a cost. The convoy had to face losses, and Mira had to confront the ghosts of her past. With the immediate threat defeated, John and Mira stood together, looking out over the stars. Their journey had transformed them, from enemies mocking each other's weapons to partners trusting in something greater. The desert wasteland was no longer just a place of survival. It was the beginning of a new chapter where humans and aliens could build a future together. As they prepared to move forward, a faint signal from deep space flickered on John's communicator, a hint that their story was far from over. The true test of trust and strength was yet to come. Asterisk. The desert dawn painted the horizon with shades of orange and purple as John and Mira stood side by side, their breath still heavy from the recent battle. The air was thick with dust and tension, yet something new stirred between them, a fragile hope born from shared struggle. John adjusted the strap of his plasma cannon, feeling the reassuring weight of the weapon that had saved them more times than he could count. Myra's glowing eyes softened as she glanced at him, no longer just an opponent, but a partner who had earned her respect. Their journey had taken them through treachery, danger, and unexpected alliances, but the real challenge was only beginning. The faint signal that flickered on John's communicator was more than a call for help. It was a beacon from deep space, a warning that a greater threat loomed on the horizon. The peace they had fought for was fragile, and the fragile bond between human and alien was about to be tested in ways neither could imagine. As they prepared to leave the convoy behind and chase the mysterious signal, Mira shared stories of her homeworld's traditions, how her people valued honor above all else, and how betrayal was the gravest sin. John listened closely, realizing that their differences could be a strength rather than a barrier. Together, they mapped a course toward the unknown, their small ship cutting through the dark void of space. Inside the cramped cockpit, tension mixed with quiet anticipation. Myra's slender fingers hovered near her weapon, while John kept his plasma cannon close, ready for whatever awaited them. Days passed in silence, broken only by shared glances and the soft hum of the engines. Slowly, trust blossomed between them, built on acts of kindness and understanding rather than words. One night, under the glow of distant stars, John reached out and gently touched Mira's hand. The gesture was simple, yet it spoke volumes, a promise that despite the vast gulf between their worlds, they were not alone. But their journey was far from peaceful. The signal led them to a derelict space station, orbiting a dead planet, a place filled with shadows and secrets. Inside, they found evidence of an ancient conflict, a war between Myra's people and a ruthless enemy seeking to wipe out her kind. The station's AI flickered to life, warning of an incoming fleet ready to finish the destruction. John and Mira realized their fight was not just for survival, but for the future of two species bound by history and hope. Together, they devised a plan to disable the fleet's command ship, using John's plasma cannon to breach its defenses and Mira's alien technology to hack its systems. The mission was dangerous, requiring precise timing and unshakable trust. As they boarded the enemy vessel, every step brought them closer, and every shadow hid a new threat. They fought side by side, their weapons blazing, hearts beating in unison. The battle pushed them to their limits, but it also revealed the true strength of their bond. When the command ship finally fell silent, John and Mira stood amidst the wreckage, knowing their victory was only the beginning of a new chapter. Their journey from mockery to trust, from enemies to partners, had reshaped not only their lives, but the fate of their peoples. As they returned to their ship, the stars above seemed to shine brighter, promising that together they could face whatever darkness the universe held. The biggest weapon was not the plasma cannon or the energy pistol. It was the trust they had forged in the fires of battle, a bond that no enemy could break. The stars glittered cold and distant as John and Mira sat quietly in the dim glow of their ship's cockpit. The aftermath of their victory against the enemy fleet still lingered in their minds. The close calls, the roar of plasma fire, the moments when only trust held them together. Outside, the void stretched endlessly, but inside, a new chapter of their story was unfolding. Myra's blue skin shimmered faintly under the cockpit lights, her usually sharp eyes softened by exhaustion, and something deeper, an unspoken connection. John glanced at her, feeling the weight of everything they'd been through. He thought back to the moment she mocked his small gun in the wasteland, never imagining this would lead to the bond they now shared. Their journey had transformed them. Both, no longer just human and alien survivors thrown together by fate, they had become partners united by respect and hope. But peace was fragile, and the universe rarely let wounds heal so easily. A sudden alert broke the silence, a faint distress call, distorted and weak, coming from an uncharted system nearby. Without hesitation, John set a course, determination, hardening his features. Mira nodded, her warrior spirit ready once more. The signal led them to a planet cloaked in shadows, its surface scarred by battles long past. As they landed, the air was thick with tension. This place held secrets, and both knew danger lurked beneath the silence. Exploring the ruins, they discovered remnants of a civilization wiped out by a ruthless force, a force connected to the shadowy figure who had stalked Mira earlier. The realization hit them hard. The war was far from over. Their mission shifted from survival to prevention. They had to stop the enemy before more worlds fell. Inside the ruins, Myra's alien technology uncovered a hidden message, a plea for help from survivors in hiding. John's heart clenched at the thought of innocent lives trapped by war. Together, they prepared to face whatever lay ahead, knowing the risks but driven by a shared resolve. Their bond deepened with each challenge. John taught Mira the subtle art of human intuition, the small gestures and unspoken cues that could mean the difference between life and death. Mira shared her warrior training, teaching John discipline and focus beyond instinct. Amidst the ruins, they found moments of quiet connection, a touch, a shared smile, a glance that spoke of trust forged in fire. Yet the enemy was relentless. Ambush and traps tested their strength and will. John's plasma cannon and Myra's energy pistol became extensions of their trust, weapons wielded not just for destruction, but for protection. As they pushed forward, they discovered a hidden colony of survivors, fragile but alive. Their arrival brought hope and fear to survivors wary of outsiders, especially an alien. Myra's calm presence and John's earnest words slowly bridged the gap. Together, they forged an alliance stronger than any weapon. But as they planned their next move, the shadowy figure returned more dangerous and determined than before. The final battle loomed, threatening not only their lives, but the future of the fragile peace they had built. Standing side by side, John and Myra faced the approaching storm. The weapons they carried were powerful, but the greatest strength lay in the bond they had forged, their trust, their understanding, and the unbreakable promise to protect each other, no matter the cost. The wasteland where their story began seemed a world away now. They were no longer mocker and mocked, enemy and ally, but two souls intertwined by fate and choice, ready to face whatever the stars had in store. The end.